In the year 1942, amidst the chaos of World War II, a secret experiment unfolded in the heart of Europe. The Allies, desperate to gain an edge in the war, delved into the forbidden realms of the supernatural. Driven by a sinister ambition, they sought to harness the power of an ancient, malevolent force to turn the tide of battle in their favor. Deep within the forgotten catacombs beneath a decaying castle, a team of scientists and occultists embarked on a perilous journey. The experiments aimed to bind the spirits of fallen soldiers to soulless bodies, creating an army that could not be defeated. Little did they know that meddling with the forces of darkness would unleash a terror that would transcend the boundaries of war itself. As the ritual reached its climax, an otherworldly energy engulfed the castle, twisting reality and birthing grotesque abominations. The once lifeless bodies of soldiers stirred, eyes gleaming with an unholy fervor. The experiment had succeeded, but the consequences were far more sinister than anyone could have anticipated. The reanimated soldiers, now devoid of humanity, rampaged through the battlefield, tearing apart friend and foe alike. Whispers of despair echoed through the war-torn landscapes as the grotesque creatures emerged from the shadows, leaving a trail of mutilation in their wake. News of this unholy army reached both Allied and Axis forces, forcing a temporary truce as the world grappled with a new, shared enemy. The war, once fought with conventional weapons, now shifted to a nightmarish battleground where the living dead fought alongside the living in a desperate struggle for survival. Amidst the chaos, a small group of unlikely allies emerged, soldiers from both sides, war-weary and haunted by the horrors of the supernatural. United by a common enemy, they ventured into the heart of darkness, determined to uncover the secrets of the experiment and put an end to the nightmare that had been unleashed. As they delved deeper into the bowels of the castle, they discovered the true origin of the malevolent force, an ancient entity that had been imprisoned for millennia. The experiment had unwittingly released this primordial evil, and it sought to consume the world in an eternal abyss of despair. The group faced not only the relentless onslaught of the undead but also the malevolent forces that lurked in the shadows. Betrayals, sacrifices, and unspeakable horrors awaited them as they navigated the treacherous journey through a world torn between the living and the damned. As the lines between reality and nightmare blurred, the survivors realized that the only way to end the terror was to confront the ancient entity itself. In a final, harrowing battle, they stood against the embodiment of darkness, fighting not only for their lives but for the very soul of humanity. In the aftermath, the once war-ravaged world was left scarred and changed. The experiment that sought to alter the course of history had instead plunged the world into a new era, an age where the scars of both war and the supernatural lingered, casting long shadows on the desolate landscape. And so, the echoes of that unholy experiment lingered in the collective memory of humanity, a cautionary tale of the horrors that arise when mankind dares to play with forces beyond its understanding. The castle, now a haunting reminder of the folly of ambition, stood as a silent witness to the shadows of desolation that had been unleashed upon the world. Story 2. In the heart of the Appalachian Mountains, where the dense foliage forms an impenetrable blanket of green, there lies a forest untouched by the hands of time. Locals speak of it in hushed tones, warning outsiders to steer clear of its ancient, gnarled trees and mysterious whispers. They call it the Veilstead Forest. Legend has it that the forest is cursed, a place where the boundary between the living and the dead is thin. Many who have ventured into its depths have never returned, and those who have told tales of strange occurrences that defy explanation. The air in Veilstead is heavy with an unnatural stillness, broken only by the eerie symphony of unseen creatures. Amelia, a curious and adventurous young woman with a penchant for the supernatural, hears of the forest's enigmatic reputation. Intrigued by the mysteries that shroud Veilstead, she decides to embark on a journey to unravel its secrets. Armed with a backpack, a camera, and a determination to document the unexplained, Amelia sets foot into the foreboding realm. As she delves deeper into the forest, the colors of the outside world fade away, replaced by a surreal palette of greens and grays. The trees seem to lean in, whispering ancient secrets that only the bravest can comprehend. Amelia notices strange symbols etched into the bark of the trees, symbols she cannot decipher but that seem to pulse with an otherworldly energy. As night falls, Amelia sets up camp beneath the towering branches. The shadows dance around her, casting eerie shapes that seem to move with a life of their own. A cold wind blows through the leaves, creating an unsettling melody that echoes through the quiet expanse. In the distance, she hears the faint cries of something not quite animal, not quite human. Sleep evades Amelia that night, as unsettling dreams haunt her slumber. She awakens to find the forest transformed. The trees have shifted, creating a labyrinthine maze that disorients her sense of direction. Panic sets in as she realizes the path she followed has vanished, and every direction seems to lead to an endless sea of trees. As Amelia navigates the maze, she encounters apparitions that materialize from the shadows, beckoning her to follow. Wisps of light dance in the air, leading her deeper into the heart of Valestead. She feels a pull, a force that seems to guide her, and she surrenders to the mysterious energy that envelops her. In the heart of the forest, a clearing bathed in an otherworldly glow awaits her. In the center stands a towering ancient oak, its roots extending into the very soul of the land. The air is charged with a palpable energy, and the ground beneath her vibrates with a mysterious power. Suddenly, the spirits she encountered in the maze materialize before her, their forms shifting between ethereal and tangible. They communicate in whispers, revealing the tragic history of Valestead. Long ago, a coven of witches cursed the land in a bid for immortality, binding their spirits to the forest. Amelia learns that the only way to break the curse is to find a long-lost artifact hidden deep within the roots of the ancient oak. The spirits guide her through a series of trials, each more harrowing than the last, as she battles malevolent entities and faces the sins of those who once called Valestead home. As she delves into the heart of the ancient oak, the true horror of Valestead unfolds. The forest is a living entity, feeding off the fear and despair of those who enter. The spirits she encountered were trapped, unable to move on, and the only way to free them is to confront the malevolent force that holds them captive. In a climactic battle between the forces of darkness and Amelia's unwavering determination, she unearths the long-lost artifact and shatters the curse that bound the spirits to Valestead. The forest, once a realm of nightmares, begins to change. The colors return, the air loses its oppressive stillness, and the whispers fade away. As the first light of dawn breaks through the branches, Amelia emerges from the now transformed Valestead forest. The spirits, freed from their eternal torment, vanish into the ethereal light. The once cursed land now stands as a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the triumph of light over darkness. Amelia, forever changed by her journey, carries the weight of Valestead's secrets with her. The forest, though transformed, retains an air of mystery that lingers in her memories. She leaves, knowing that the tales of the cursed Valestead forest will live on, whispered among locals and passed down through generations as a cautionary tale of the supernatural. Story 3. Once, in a small, run-down hospital on the outskirts of a quiet town, two young nurses, Emily and Sarah, were assigned to the night shift in the notorious Ward 13. The ward had a sinister reputation, with rumors of unexplained events and eerie occurrences circulating among the hospital staff. As the clock struck midnight, Emily and Sarah donned their white uniforms and made their way to Ward 13. The flickering fluorescent lights cast eerie shadows on the dimly lit corridor as they approached the entrance. The heavy metal door creaked open, sending shivers down their spines. Inside, the atmosphere was heavy with an unsettling stillness. The air seemed colder, and a faint odor of antiseptic lingered. The nurses exchanged nervous glances but brushed off their unease, attributing it to the tales they had heard. Their first task was to check on the solitary patient in room 1313, an old man named Mr. Blackwell, who had been confined to the ward for reasons unknown. The door to room 1313 swung open with a haunting creak as they entered. Mr. Blackwell lay in bed, staring blankly at the ceiling. His hollow eyes seemed to reflect the shadows that danced around the room. Emily and Sarah went about their routine, checking his vitals and adjusting the IV drip. However, an inexplicable feeling of being watched made them uneasy. As the nurses tried to leave the room, the door slammed shut behind them with a force that defied explanation. Panic set in as they struggled to open it, their hands trembling. Eventually, the door creaked open again, revealing an empty corridor. The other patients in the ward seemed undisturbed, sleeping soundly in their beds. Shaken but determined to continue their duties, Emily and Sarah pressed on. As they approached the nurses' station, they heard soft whispers echoing through the hallway. It was as if the very walls held secrets from a bygone era. The two nurses decided to split up to cover their tasks efficiently. Sarah stayed at the nurses' station, organizing paperwork, while Emily went to the supply room to restock medical supplies. In the eerie silence, Sarah began to hear faint footsteps and the rustling of hospital gowns. Assuming it was Emily returning from the supply room, Sarah called out, "Emily, is that you?" There was no response. The footsteps grew louder, and the rustling became more distinct. Terrified, Sarah turned around to find empty hospital beds neatly made, untouched by any living soul. Meanwhile, Emily in the supply room was greeted by the sudden flickering of the lights. As she reached for the supplies, a ghostly figure appeared in the corner of her eye. Frozen in fear, she saw the translucent figure of a nurse, draped in a tattered uniform from a bygone era. The ghostly nurse pointed towards room 1313, her eyes pleading. Emily, now white as a sheet, followed the ethereal figure back to the room. The air became charged with an otherworldly energy as they entered. Inside room 1313, Mr. Blackwell's bed was empty. The ghostly nurse pointed to a faded photograph on the bedside table, revealing herself as Nurse Abigail, who had perished in a tragic fire that engulfed the hospital decades ago. In that moment, the whispers grew louder, recounting the tales of misplaced souls trapped in the hospital's haunted history. Emily and Sarah, united in fear and empathy, vowed to help the lost spirits find peace. As the first rays of dawn pierced through the hospital windows, Emily and Sarah left Ward 13, forever changed by the spectral encounters of that fateful night. The hospital's haunted legacy persisted, but the two nurses carried with them a newfound respect for the echoes of the past that lingered in the shadows of the forsaken ward.